Hi, I'm Dana, and this is not the first time that I've made a video similar to this. I've definitely made videos about the similarities and differences between autistic burnout and depression in the past. However, a few months ago, had a really good therapy session because I finally, for the first time in my life, found a decent autistic therapist. And I had this whole sort of revelation where I don't think I've ever been depressed in like the medical depression meaning of the term, you know? So like my background is that I was diagnosed as being depressed and having social anxiety as a 12-year-old, and then proceeded to spend the next 9 or so years thinking I was just depressed and anxious until finding out I'm also autistic. So in that time, I went to all sorts of different therapies. I had CBT multiple times, I had counsellors, I had therapists, I had all sorts of people that saw me for all sorts of things, and no one could figure out why I was depressed, essentially. You know, I got put on all sorts of meds, like I've had so many different types of antidepressants, and nothing worked. And it got really bad. Like I'm pretty sure there's videos on my channel, because like I said, I only had this like whole like realization like a few months ago. I'm pretty sure there's videos on my channel where I'm talking about how like I've been told like, well, clearly you don't want help, or something would have helped by now, when I was actively doing everything that I could to try and not be depressed anymore. And the medical professionals that were working with me definitely had an inkling of like, this isn't just depression, but they didn't know what it was. So I've been through like the diagnosis process for like bipolar and psychosis and something else. Like you know when you go in you have this like whole big thing, and then they're like, yeah, you're not that, and you're like, oh. Like I had that with quite a few different things. And it was the bipolar one that I, for a little while, was like, I don't know, maybe they were wrong actually, because I very much have cycles. But the thing that makes it different to bipolar is that I don't get manic. So I was like, well, it's not bipolar, but there's the cycles. And this is why I think it ties into autism, and it's nothing to do with bipolar, it's being autistic. You know, I think it's probably why lots of women get misdiagnosed as being bipolar when they're actually autistic, even though you can definitely have both. But for me, it's very much a case of I have to put so much energy into day-to-day life when I'm doing well. That's why I say like I'm not manic, because I'm not having a fucking good time. When it's going well for me, I'm putting a huge amount of effort into like get up on time, like make sure I'm waking up at a reasonable time, and having a morning routine, and having something to eat, and like making myself busy and having things to do. And it takes so much effort to like plan it all and then actually do it all, motivate myself to do it all, not procrastinate anything, not feel horrifically awful about myself if I don't manage to get it all completed, you know, all these things. And it takes so much effort that to live at like a base level wears me out. So I can only do it for so long before it gets increasingly difficult and more and more difficult, and I start to lose the energy, you know? I'll go to bed at the same time, and suddenly I can't wake up at 7 a.m. anymore. I'm too tired. I'm waking up at 10 a.m. and now my whole morning routine's gone, so I feel like an absolute mess. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like really out of it. You know, the autism kicks in. I'm like, I need my routine, but I can't have my routine because I'm too tired to keep up my routine. And that's burnout for me. You know, and it feels horrible. It feels really crappy. So as much as I might try and relax to like get myself out of burnout again, I know the only way that I'm actually going to like feel positive and productive is by getting back to the routine that set me into burnout. So then I go about like getting back into that routine, and I can hold that routine for a few months, and then burnout sets back in. And before, I was very like, oh, I have like a few months where things are okay, and then I get really depressed again. And I don't. It's not depression. You know, I think if it was depression, something would have fucking worked, you know? Like I've had friends that have depression and they take their meds and they're like, oh, I feel better now. And like, obviously it takes like trial and error, you've got to find the right med, and like there's a lot to it. But I tried enough that like, I think if it was gonna work, I'd have found the thing that was gonna work, you know? But it's not depression. The thing that makes it difficult though is that not knowing I was autistic and not knowing about autistic burnout, I was just going to like doctors and medical professionals and being like, every few months I want to die, basically. You know, every few months everything feels incredibly difficult. I've got no energy, I'm just tired all the time, nothing brings me joy anymore. I feel empty of everything and numb to the world. And then after a couple of months of that, I'm fine again. And they were just sort of like, oh, okay, so you get depressed sometimes, you know, because people don't know about burnout. And it's the symptoms of depression, you know? they're just stemming from a very different place than depression does for me and in my opinion. You know, I'm no medical professional. This is very much just what I'm sort of figuring out about myself and that I think might help other people. Because I think that if someone else had mentioned like cycles of burnout sooner, I'd have been like, wait a minute, I do that, you know? But no one ever said it, so I didn't know. Because I do very much feel like, at least for me, burnout is all of the symptoms that people have with depression. Like when I've had friends that have talked about being depressed, like I very much get the vibe. It's just that they'll have it for like so long and then they get meds that like help them out, or their situation changes and they feel better, so they're out of it. Whereas I just have it happen every like 4 months or so. And the frustrating thing with it, because a lot of the time when I figure out things like this, I'm quite like relieved and excited because I'm like, okay, I can figure out how to deal with it. We can sort it out now. I know what it is and we can get it dealt with. And this time I'm sort of like, well, what do I do? Because I sort of need to like be a productive person and get shit done, you know? But being a productive person and getting shit done is so fucking exhausting that after a few months of that, it sends me into another state again where I can't get anything done. You know, and like during the periods where I'm being a productive person and getting shit done, it's not like I'm fucking thriving, you know? Like I'm still like kind of like struggling a little bit and I still get really anxious about stuff and it's still not easy. It's just easier than the other times. So I don't feel like there's any space I can take to like accommodate to like make it easier, because it's like, well, I have to get this stuff done. Like this is adult day-to-day life. These aren't things that I can just avoid or do another time or decide to not think about to make myself feel better. Like I have adult responsibilities. And even saying that, I have a lot less adult responsibilities than most other adults do. Like I am realistically like sort of living like a bum and not having to do an awful lot right now. Like 90% of what I need to get done is just my own personal like passion projects essentially, or like my living situation, as we've all heard plenty about. You know, like I know that to a lot of people they'd already be like, a lot of my life is like relaxing and doing nice things, and it's like that's just what I need to like keep myself getting through. Like this isn't helping me to like be able to maintain these longer periods of being productive and having a good time or decent time. It just feels like that's sort of like what I have to do, you know? And sure, lots of things would be better and easier if I could do something during like the good times to not have these like depressive zones. I was gonna say depressive episodes and then my words got screwed up. But you know what I mean? Because it's like, I don't want to feel like that. It's really horrible. I don't enjoy it at all. But also like, if I don't do the things that get me to that place and I haven't done any of that stuff, and then my whole life's just like pointless and I haven't done anything. Like I don't understand how I'm supposed to find like the balance of happiness, I suppose. I don't know how it's supposed to work when life is just like consistently stressful and difficult. You know, it feels like it just like makes sense that like I can only do it some of the time and deal with it well, you know, because it's just so much all the time. Like, I don't know if it's just my life. I don't know if it's just that I've like made my life unnecessarily stressful, which I think might be like a genuine thing. Because I've got a friend now that will occasionally just be like, you do know that you don't need to do that. And I'm like, shit, I can just like make my life easier. But I'm also just like a generally stressful person. Like I get stressed very easily. I get very anxious about a lot of things. You know, even if like my life was really great and perfect, I think I'd still find it quite difficult and still be quite stressed just from like the person that I am. And I don't really know what I'm supposed to do to like counteract that. I don't know. This is where like you guys come in. How like do any of you feel like you've like been through this thing of realising that you're experiencing like cyclical experiencing burnout in cycles, okay? Does anyone else feel like they've dealt with that? How do you accommodate to yourself? How do you make it a nicer life? I don't know when I started just like being like, tell me how to fix myself, guys. But apparently that's what we're doing now. It's just one of those things where like, I haven't realised it. It kind of feels better because I feel like I'll be able to figure out something to do to make things easier and to not have these like cycles of horrible burnout and feeling really crappy. But I'm also like, I don't know what to do about it. And being aware that it's a cycle, because every other time when things have started to get a bit better again, I'm like, maybe this is the last time it'll happen. Maybe I'm not going to feel that horrible ever again. And then I do. But you know, every time I've had that hope of like, maybe this time. And now every time I start feeling a little bit better, I haven't realised, I'm sort of like, oh. What, so now I get a couple of nice months and it's just back to that shit again. It's frustrating. I'm trying to like stay positive about it, but it's really annoying. I don't want to fucking deal with it. So yeah, they're my thoughts and opinions on burnout versus depression. I think some of you might find it really interesting because some of you are definitely watching already and like commenting when I made my other video about it. And I remember a whole bunch of you saying like, I don't want to be mean, but that doesn't sound exactly like depression. And I was like, what is it then? It's this. We figured it out. I just spat. Christ, okay. It's the point I start spitting that I'm like, I should go. So whoever you are, oh no, I'm a promoter YouTuber now. Please remember to like and subscribe and leave a comment. My links will be down below if you wanted to support me on Ko-fi or follow me on Instagram, TikTok, I don't know. There's a load of links down below. You can do whatever the fuck you want. I would like it if you subscribe though. It's nice getting subscribers. It's nice having a little community here. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you're having a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year. And I'll see you again in a couple of